think one of the reasons I'm a writer is because I've always had an overactive imagination, right? So I had to figure out a way to explain to people what's happening inside my head, right? So that's, I think, what happens quite often in my poetry work. So now when I start to play with things like augmented...
Nomashenge, well, I know that I remember very well because I was there. Wow, we nice slams Poetry Center.
Oh yeah.
And you went on to participate in Work and Sound.
Oh yes,
You're slamming.
Oh yeah, I was slamming. You know, I was doing that.
And how is it different from the culture hip hop where Tisana?
That's the thing. I mean, that's why I don't slam. You know, it's not Disana necessarily the point of it. It's the creativity of it, you know. Yeah. So even if we don't have beef, you and I could still fuck you up in a fucking cipher. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if we do have beef, okay, that's a little bit extra spice. That makes it even more intense because this is real, like it's on site. It's on site, you know? So
I think that's one of our most powerful work as artists, is like we give people the space to dream and imagine a new world, and sometimes even tools of building that new world. And so I think for me, like behind the scenes inside my hat, like that's one of like my key driving factors is how do we dream new dreams and then bring those to life as well.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together. Sanibona bafethu igama lami uNtokozo starring ngokaZulu kuhlezi kuyintokozo njalo ukuthi sihlanganyele nani lana kuyinkonzo ziyaphilisa. Njengoba ngangichazile kulama sonto adlule nihlahleli no page ukuthi sekuzoba into ejwayelekile ukuthi we're going to have these special episodes where we hang out with the greats within the industry, sharing stories and their journey and everything. But today it is still about indaba your words, a show by Pt2 which is happening tomorrow, the 15th of February at the UKZN Jazz Center. And I'm going to try by all means possible ukuthi some of the people that are part of the line-up, and mangithi people ngibona nje ayikho right leyo nto leyo, and njengamanje ngifeel like ngi-starstruck
lapho when studying
ayibo bafethu ngale ngokumosha isikhathi la eduze kwami ngiphethe bafethu yamazi ngilawona elimesi umuntu one-welcome. His name is Xabiso, Villi, a world champion 2022.
Yeah, 2022.
And akwenzakalanga futhi la eSouth Africa. Ngiyayibona nje indaba ye-passport neyinkonzo. And then on my far left ngiphethe udadewethu uNomashenge, a well decorated poet. I know her since the early days. Saqala ipoetry mfethu sifike eThekwini 2013. Sazoxoxa nje mfethu, well decorated naye wayiwina khona into zakhe ayiwina. She has written and participated on different shows, wa release kuma anthology wafaka. So cela ukunibingelela. If you were to host a show and he was part of the lineup, how would you introduce him? What would you say? In 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds.
Or 15.
Ngingathi ulo onenkululeko kakhulu ngamagama. Ovela zenzele ngawo. Yeah, nangempilo futhi. Kade ngilokhu ngimtshela ukuthi he's a laboratory of a life. He's just experimenting with his life, and I appreciate that so much. He hones his freedom and he respects it, and he loves it. Like he's curious about it. He's always keen to find it, you know, and seek it. So I love that about Xabiso. That's probably what I'd say about Xabiso.
Wow, where is the now?
But now how do I go after this? Yo, I was talking about how the first time I saw you, you were doing the vocals and the people in the audience were confused that wouldn't sound. Is this like, is this poetry? Is this vocal? I'm like, just listen to the words, you know? So I think somebody, you know, guided by word and word being God and God being peace and peace being stillness, like somebody who also brings that not in only in her work, but also in the audience that gets to experience her. A fire force of also experimentation of what it takes to like really shift reality with performance, with art. Someone who's always constantly building and growing. Nomashenge, hello.
Mind you, this was not planned at all. This was not planned at all.
Cool stuff about me. I love that.
No,
Thank you.
Siyabonga kakhulu. Xabiso, I've always wanted to ask this about your name. The meaning, what does it mean? Because nangikhulele lokishini empangeni, uXabiso kimi islam usho imali.
Kaloku Xabiso is price, it's money. Xabiso yento, like when you watch the economic section on the Xhosa news, Xabiso yentoni inyukile yabo. But it's also a Xabiso something of value, something precious, something of worth, you know? Like Xabiso yaxabiseka, so Xabiso gives value to something, right?
You having traveled all of these countries, have you ever faced a time where people fail to pronounce their name?
Every time. But God, yes. Like what I've noticed is that like certain people in South Africa that can't say it, like especially white people, will go many years not knowing how to say it. But like overseas, because they're interested in learning, like you just give them like a quick 15-minute, 20-minute lesson, then they're already practicing that click and they're getting into it. So it's really like when it comes to language, it's about how willing you are to learn the name. You know, I used to go by X, but then I was like, no, but I'm robbing myself of that value.
When was that?
Hey, like primary school, like high school, like university. Yes, actually. But now it's like, nah, dog. You either learn the name or you miss the value of what my parents bequeathed on me.
You miss Xabiso.
Nomashenge, I'm sure ayikho into wakubuza lo mbuzo, but ngisanda kwazi your stage name oyibiza ngegama lakhe eliphelele nesibongo.
Yeah,
Xoliswa Dlamini. And the time you decided to change and call yourself Nomashenge.
You know,
Nomashenge igama lakho?
Nomashenge igama lami, yeah. Like these are both my names, Xoliso Nomashenge Dlamini, but I'm from Mnambithi, Estate Villi. Khona omunye uXoli you poets or Mnambithi, Estate Villi. A lot of people are confusing me, you know, for Uzayoni, respect, shout out to Uzayoni. But also I think, you know, it came just, there was a time where I just felt like, you know, I had to change. Like it felt like a good time to change. You know, this was the name that my father gave me, that I had a sort of complicated relationship with as a name in G. I didn't really necessarily like it at all, you know. Nomashenge. Kusho ukuthini ukuthi Nomashenge? Yini Nomashenge, you know? Wakadlamini on top of that. But, you know, I think there comes a time when you just step into your names as well, and I stepped into that one. But ngisawuxolisa very, very much.
You heard it here first.
Getting the scoop.
Oh, this thing I got the scoop,
baby.
Oh, sorry, got the scoop.
2 scoops of ice cream.
So, Pt2, uqhubeka Pt2, Xabiso, I know you've traveled, and ngihlezi nginombuzo ukuthi, based on your experience, understanding poetry as a South African, from your experience, into Soyiboni, what you have seen from the countries we have went to, how are they receiving our content? And when I'm how do you feel in terms of comparing the culture, the art, and the reception from the people?
Man, I always say, and I've said this even before I was traveling, and to this day I still say it, that like South African poets are like some of the best poets in the world, you know? From, you know, just traveling individually to traveling in groups, how we are received across the world is always like people are just left mind blown. You know, I think we come from a really special culture with our history, with how we engage with each other, with how we come up in slams that really creates a really unique way of performing. Look, I think that America has a really interesting way of performance. I think places like Europe and the UK have like really interesting styles of writing, you know, but like like somehow South Africa brings it all together and makes it bang, like better and bigger. I think the only thing we kind of miss out on is documenting this work and then like putting it out on a more global platform, right? Because I think if we did, then a lot more South African poets would be booked across the world. But I suppose that becomes the work for someone like me now, because now I've gone across the world and I've developed these connections. I can begin to now craft like touring networks where I can invite other South African poets to like go through those. So I think for me, that becomes the next work. It's like, okay, I've traveled enough now. Like, let's put on some other amazing South African poets onto that world map.
Ngizwela ukuthi useyifakele ijoke challenge. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. You need to create a platform. Ama-passports awalunga bazalwane. I'm thinking question is what ayifani, but yours ngifuna sibe ngeperspective yokuthi you stayed in Durban and you were part of Keen Artists.
Sure.
You were at one point you were an executive director of some sort.
Oh yeah,
I know.
Yeah, briefly yeah.
So
I started got the scoop.
Who's your researcher? Who's your researcher?
So having to be exposed with platform yaseThekwini and then moving to Johannesburg. If you were to compare both things, in terms of ama-shows, kade ngixoxa nje no-page of ukuthi ithini athini ama-sales lapho. Ngiyangitshela ukuthi abanye abantu fethu balinde baze bezofika emnyango because ayikangeni kubona lento. So your perspective in terms of the poetry scene, this side and that side.
Yeah, definitely Johannesburg, because it is a big city, it is a popular city, it's one of the most popular cities in the world, and therefore a lot of artists do converge there, and that is a starting point and even a stage, for a lot of poets. So they are quite developed. I suppose the scene is more developed because they started earlier, in doing shows, in setting certain standards. This is the pricing, or this is how we buy tickets, and this is how we present shows. And it's not just a show, all empty, there's sound, there's lights, there's this and there's that. So I do think there is, a development that happened, that we are still, and by we I mean Durban, I still speak of Durban as we, that we do still need to build up to the culture of going to watch in Kondo, and this is not to say that no work has been done in Durban. Of course, there are major shows that have come out of Durban. I mean, the greatest poetry festival in the continent is Poetry Africa, which is hosted in Durban, hosted by Durbanites. So I'm a Durbanite. So yes, there is that sort of difference, but Durban, I mean, because it's home for me, it holds a special place, even in the way that we perceive each other as poets, It's not just like we're artists, we're brothers and sisters. We're friends, we relied on each other for so much more than just, how dope we are. And, slams and shit. It was really a family, we have traditions like Ilindilanga for a reason.
Yes.
For a reason, we couldn't, even today we was complaining how we couldn't separate from each other. That's the beauty of eThekwini, the way that we hold each other as poets. It's different, it's unique in its own way, but of course we must develop lento ukuthi asithenge nama-tickets bafethu njengoba nje sizoba ne-show kusasa abafethu abathenga ama-tickets.
Stop buying at the door.
Yeah.
Get the link. Buy
abathola
before.
ilink bathenga ama-tickets. Yabona abafethu bayakwazi ukuthenga izinto kothenga lot abafethu abathenga ama-tickets.
Because that way you sell out the show beforehand, and then you showcase that like poetry has a community, and then more spaces want to then book it because you have more sold out posters.
Absolutely.
Then people are like, that your words. You must get it here at our event.
Yes.
And it makes life easier for the person curating the show.
Yeah.
For uzakhokela itafanele ayikhokhele enze. No, but it's very interesting. Khona iphathi engifuna ungenayo manje leya yami yesithathu ke lena. Based on the poet that you are, your style of writing and what influences you, your AR and VR infusion. Yeah. So that's it. And some people have not met you physically, but they've seen your work. What happens behind?
I mean, I think one of the reasons I'm a writer is because I've always had an overactive imagination, right? So I had to figure out a way to explain to people what's happening inside my head, right? So that's, I think, what happens quite often in my poetry work. So now when I start to play with things like augmented reality, the AR, where pictures start moving on your phone, or the virtual reality, the VR, where you are put inside a headset, you know, and you see around. Or I even worked with Nomashenge with a projection mapping installation, and Mudisa and Belita Andre to create like a 360 like animated piece of poetry called Wasuga Sugela. Like these are just like ways in which we can utilize both poetry and technology to bring more to life what's happening in our heads, so people can see it and touch it. And I also think it allows people a new capacity to dream. Right? So I'm interested in how, because I think like poetry does that for us. Like it opens it, like you were saying, it opens that third eye where you can see like new dreams and new imaginations. And I think that's one of our most powerful work as artists, is like we give people the space to dream and imagine a new world, and sometimes even tools of building that new world. And so I think for me, like behind the scenes inside my heart, like that's one of like my key driving factors, is how do we dream new dreams and then bring those to life as well.
Interesting. Niyezwa njalo. Nomashenge, nawe ke futhi I want to find a correct way to phrase it. You practice alchemist.
Oh, okay. Alchemy. Yeah.
In terms of ability, you practice.
Sure.
Yeah, ngifuna ungichazele in that angle.
Look, it's an active thing. It's a stepping into. It's an imperfect perfecting. You know, it's something that you partake in. And while you are partaking in it, you are receiving what you should get from it, and you are also receiving the dream of it, the infinity of it, and like that's it. Like in every performance, in writing, it's converting stories, it's converting words into much more, into inexplicable things that happen to us, that move us, that touch us, you know, when we do these poems, or when we perceive them, hear them, see them, you know, feel them. So yeah, that's what it means, you know. And it also just like the noviceness of it, you know, like the stepping into it kind of anew, or still like a child, you know, like still open-hearted in that way, like you know, the practice of it, like ain't no perfection, you know. There's that as well. Like I'm curious about the shit that we do like that. Yeah.
Interesting.
Am I allowed to say shit on this podcast? Stuttering! Oh damn, stuttering!
Is it PG-13? Is it 16 language? Like,
you know, there's some young kids, there's some young poets out there.
No,
you know? Okay, all right. At least.
Pt2, umthathe recently umuntu obengenile la uLethu. What does it take to be a world slam champion? And futhi ngifuna siqale ngiyafisa ukuthi you explain to us what is slam, because I'm quite certain ukuthi there are some people who are in the poetry scene but they don't know what a slam is. Yeah. Abanye basebasho.
Yeah. Slam is a competition, right? It's a competition with words and with the performance of those words, right? So I struggle when people say like I'm a slam poet, right? Where I'm like more like you're a poet who slams, who competes in the competition of slam. And so various slam competitions will have different rules. But basically at the end of the day, we're trying to see on that day which poet got the most points to then win the competition, right? So, you know, going through Poetry Africa and like those digital slams, I was able to like represent South Africa at like then the international level, where each different country had their own national winner who was then competing against each other, and then I came out after like 3 days as the number one person. Like, so I think, hey, the world champion, like back in 2022 of the first World Poetry Slam competition. And I think it's a difficult question. What does it take to be a world champion? Because it takes different things from different people, right? For me, I had already written my poems and gotten into the performance and figuring out the body and the movement of the poem like already like 9 months before the actual slam. But then it still took me like 9 months of going to therapy and like speaking through the work I was going to deliver to be able to like hold the poem, but also hold expectations, hold this dream that I'd had for like 10 years. I remember in 2012 writing on my wall that I want to be the best poet in the world. Then 10 years later in 2022, there I am winning the World Poetry Slam Championship. So there's also like work of holding a dream. There's work of holding expectations from your community. But also I think like being like at that level, there was also this realization that I wasn't just representing myself, but representing these poets in South Africa where we always say we are the best, right? So there's also like working for those 10 years to gain the trust of your community, like for them to trust you to go out there and represent them, right? And then there's also getting onto that stage and switching all of that off and realizing that right now there's just this moment, this poem, and sharing it with these people that are in this room right now, you know? But, you know, like the slam, like it's a competition, it's always up and down, even if like anything could have gone wrong and I could have still lost that. But that doesn't make you any less of a champion, right? Just by being there, you're already a champion. Yeah. Just by competing in the slam, you're a champion. Because that thing takes courage, right? Yeah. Like, there's a line in one of my poems where I say, like, it takes guts to live with all of these breakable parts, you know? Like, us as humans, like, at any moment we can break, but to get up on stage and slam our poems against each other to see who breaks first, like, that is a courageous thing. So there's already, like, that courage, I think, is maybe what it takes to be a champion.
Nomashenge, well, I know that I remember very well because I was there. Wow, we nice slams Poetry Sundowner.
Oh yeah.
And you went on to win to participate to Wet and Sound.
Oh yes,
You're slamming.
Yeah, I was slamming,
Your experience.
You know, I was doing that.
And how is it different from culture hip hop where Zatisana?
That's the thing. I mean, that's why I don't slam. You know, because it's a very subjective thing. It's art, and so you know I'm sensitive about that shit. You know, but essentially, it is still a competition.
Yeah.
You still have to utilize your creativity of words to gain points, to be lovable, to be loved, and so the I suppose the only difference is just that there's a beat with the raps, you know, and also in the raps it's not Ukdisana necessarily the point of it. It's the creativity of it, you know. Yeah. So even if we don't have beef, you and I could still fuck you up in a fucking cipher. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if we do have beef, okay, that's a little bit extra spice. That makes it even more intense because this is real, like it's on site. It's on site, you know. So it is similar things. Yeah. It is competition. It is creative writing competition. You know, there's no beat on the other side. It's not bars like that. It's verse instead. You know, it's stanzas instead.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ngithandile ukuthi it's all love and what is senya ngeniyothanda vele.
Oh damn.
Nilethwa yini la eThekwini?
Hey.
It is love.
It's
an experience of love. The experience of love.
Yeah,
like, the love experience.
The love experience.
Your words presents the love experience.
We're here for the love experience.
It's all love.
And also it's so exciting for your words, the love experience to be the first one, or the love experience to be the first your words happening, because like like that is what has brought us to this moment.
Yes.
Has been love, like love for the
Yes.
poetry community, love
Yes.
from Upage, like to like trust us to hold the space,
Yeah.
right? So like
Yeah.
tomorrow, as much as the love experience is happening at the Jazz Center,
Yeah.
like it's going to be, I think for me, a sharing of love poems, but like a sharing of like these many years. Like how long have I been writing poems now? Like
Yeah.
like 21 years I've been writing poems, right? So like these many years of this community that has shown love and showing love back to that community.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, man, like also being here like in Durban has also just been a reminder of that, you know, being by the ocean and the ocean just speaking back and reminding of community and how beautiful like everyday small moments are. Like we've just been having chats like late at night by the beach, like just of like the smallest and the largest things, and like talking till late in the night, or talking today when we went out to check out the venue with other poets, just having that separation anxiety and realizing like how closely this love
The
connects us.
the intense compassion we have for each other, simply because we are poets and we are poets at heart, you know. We were poets before we had words, you know. So it connects us so deeply, Leon to Leo. That is the love experience. That's what we That's what we're here for.
We were poets before we even had words.
Before words, certainly.
So nathi abantu bayibona into ofana bayilindele kusasa ukuthi nizothola nje bafethu uthando.
Yes.
Uthando kuphela. No bafethu ngiyabonga kakhulu ukuthi niyamukele invite kaPeji nize lapha eThekwini. Nina nikhokhela imali eshisa ukuthi sinibone, yabo. So nje mfethu ngiyasijabulisa kakhulu, and I know there are a lot of young poets, mina ngihlezi ngihlangana nabo labantu labo, who draw inspiration from you based on the things that you guys do. And ngiyithandele kakhulu lento yokuthi let us document these things. Let us document these things, have them somewhere zikhona for everyone that is coming and for your own legacy. So
Podcast name plug.
sesizovala nje. Besides the show, and I'm sure people what they can expect from you, but mhlambe in the near future, what can people expect from you, the work that you're currently doing, the shows, publications?
Xabiso Villi,
Yo, that's such a difficult question for me, because so I'm always working on something, and then whatever comes out is the thing that is ready to come out, be it ready with money or be ready to be completed. So you know, like there's novels in the works, there's a collection of short stories in the works, there's a new collection of poems in the works, there's possible albums in the works, there's new like VR, AR, XR things in the works, there's maybe a reality TV show in the works, you know. So there's, for me it's always like I'm always working on something. Just follow me like wherever you follow people, and then
You follow.
but don't follow me like a stalker, and not on the street. You don't follow people on the street, and then you'll see what comes out. But maybe right now, what I am doing is focusing a lot on stillness and meditating on what this next chapter in my life, which story or which part of the story it wants to tell. So, you know, like come read the story and we'll discover together what is next.
I just love poets. Come here. Let us.
Someone.
And on your side, Nomashenge.
You know what? For me right now, I'm just trying to find more truth. You know, I'm just trying to find, you know, the same truth that I find sort of on stage. I wanna find it on the everyday and vice versa. And I suppose the immediate thing when it comes to like what am I gonna do? What am I supposed to be doing? Is the journey of like independently recording music. You know, so that's the constant thing that I'm working on. Even in my practice of it, you know, that's what I'm working on. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Nizwele kanjalo.
Yeah.
Uma sebesilandela ke labantu. Basithola.
Google me, baby.
Yo!
Google me, baby. No, literally, if you put in Xabiso Villi into Google, you'll find whatever you find on all my social media. My name is Xabiso Villi. I tried to make it easy for human beings like that. Yeah, I think you should also be able to find like my contact details if you want to book me for things or whatever. It's all out there. Apparently, I'm a public figure. Which I'm so glad, like, you know. So there's capacity to find me. It's out there. Holla at your boy. Let's chat.
Ngiyabonga ukhoxile kulezo zinto lezo yabo. Ozongibona. Ngibona nje kwi-show. Ngibona nje kwi-show. Sithi nje, what's up brother? What's up my sister? What's up y'all? You know, for now. Anyway.
No, thank you very much bafethu. And no nothi ke nivume bafethu ukuthi nizelana. I still hope and pray and request that I'll have both of you on individual episodes where I get to sit with you for 2 hours if it happens.
Okay.
I'm
back in Durban next month.
It's organized.
So,
no, thank you very much, Buffett. I really appreciate it. And
thank you, Paraga Coco.
You're a good human being.
Thank you for having us.
Oh,
Thank you for the platform.
That is
And
so sweet.
It's necessary, vital work. Man.
Yeah,
You're doing the Lord's work. Hey.
No, Buffett, you say, Boga, please ensure that you follow us on all social media platforms. Ikamala Mdogo was starring Mwagazulu, Namasebe, please, so the child would see in conscious appeal.
Ziyaphilisa baba.